Mike McCool here in the Royal Examiner studio, and with me today I have two of our community leaders. How's that?
Sounds great.
Fire Chief Jimmy Bonzano and Sheriff Crystal Cline. We appreciate you coming in and talking to us. A lot of stuff has happened in the last week or two that's kept both of you like really busy.
True that.
So why don't you fill us in on what kind of things you've been doing?
Well, thank you for having us.
Sure.
I appreciate you. Yes, so last week, I guess it was Wednesday the 20th, some significant winds, and along with those, some fires. About 100 acres caught fire in Warren County specifically. Our region in its entirety was under the same struggles, if you will, fighting the fires. Really stressed our system out, and I'm really proud, as I know the sheriff is, we're really proud of the community. We're really proud of our brothers and sisters in blue, the county administration in its entirety. Everybody lended a hand. The boots on the ground just did a fantastic job, the firefighters and the paramedics. We had over, like 100 calls for service, with the distribution being largely fire and EMS. When I say we were stressed, I'm probably being kind. We were simply out of resources. We called back all of our off-duty staff, including the volunteers. Everybody showed up in Steed and did a great job, but there were calls unanswered, and it was tough. Communications did one great job just trying to stack the priorities given the circumstances. But suffice to say, it was a struggle for all, but very proud the way everybody came together.
These are the kind of events that happen. They don't happen every day, but it's kind of why we have a sheriff and a police and a fire department. What if something happens? Are people going to be available to handle the call? There's, a lot of times, the joke is, they just sit there and play cards all day and wax the truck, right? But we know that there's training, and there's training, and there's training, right?
For this to happen. But just as he said, when he's talking about, 100 calls coming in, those are calls that we're responding to. But the dispatch center, those phones were going off the hook. We had 288 calls in a short period of time people were concerned. People were reporting down trees, down power lines, fires, smoke. And it was all over Warren County. It wasn't a specific area. And where we normally can rely on our jurisdictions that are closest to us, your Shenandoah County, Page County, Frederick County, to help us out in these type of situations, they were battling their own issues.
Exactly. We had so many fires, over 100 fires set just in these regions you're talking about. And
so we had to rely solely on Warren County and who we had. So we did a total recall. We had to recall all of our fire and rescue personnel. We had to recall and call in all of our personnel from the sheriff's office, including communications officers and deputies and everybody to respond just to assist with everything that was going on in that short period of time.
You did a great job.
Thank you. Well, we as the key, we came together as a community. It takes a village, and everybody stepped up, and we were very blessed. We also were blessed in that the winds, as tough as they were, as the sheriff alluded to, it exceeded almost to 60 miles an hour. We were very blessed in that while we lost some structures, we never lost a home. Mm-hmm. We did evacuate, working with our law enforcement brothers and sisters. We were able to evacuate 20 homes, be specific, off in McCoy's Ford Road. I was there, and I just watched everybody come together. I say as a community because, in essence, that's what was needed. Mm-hmm. Private contractors cutting fire lines with their own personal dozers, skid steers, Public Works coming to aid, and there was a necessity, and everybody stepped up for that reason.
I noticed that all through the years in our community that, when there's a time of need, people come up, whether it's just needing a donation or they needing some help, or we have when we had those major snows, everybody just pitched in. The bulldozers, like you said, contractors were there, and they didn't have their hand out either. They were there helping the community.
True. But I think our community knows because, throughout the year, we're handling tens of thousands of calls for our services. Sure. And so I think they know what we're up against. They've needed us, and we've answered the call at that time. So when we're asking for help, they're ready to reciprocate that and it's really humbling to watch that and see that all the phone calls asking, how can I help? What do you need? Do you need food? Do you need water? It was overwhelming. It really was.
Yeah.
People were stopping by the shelter that emergency manager Brian Foley set up at Rivermont Fire Department. They were stopping in, like, what do you need? And I think the community members that came in and were at the shelter, even watching that coming in and everybody pitching in, it made them feel better. They were already worried and stressed about, whether they were going to have a home to go back to, if their pets were going to be okay, and it was a very stressful situation. But to see community members come in and offering help and food and refreshments and just encouragement, it was good to see.
Right. And you mentioned you were stressed on personnel-wise. I know you've been operating for a long time, understaffed. Just not enough positions filled, and of course, I think it's statewide of the fire department as a whole, as an industry, has really gone to paid. The volunteer thing is just required. The standards have required so much training. People just don't have the time to volunteer and go through 300 hours of training to be a volunteer fireman, and we still have some of those, and it's great that we do, but. It's a paid job, and I know we just don't have enough.
Well, and it's a fair point. So I got a little soundbite here. We're better together than we are apart, and keep in mind we are a combination system, and so we respect and appreciate and depend on the volunteers, not only for the actual boots on the ground side of the house, but the administrative support. They do a lot, and we're blessed to be together with them. That said,
they raise a lot of money.
They do, and I think the realities of life is what's tough, right? So you look at the competing interests of life. They have occupations, they have jobs, they have responsibilities, they have families. Throw into a pandemic, and the struggles associated with the exposures associated with doing that as a profession, in addition to their regular responsibilities. So we've seen it diminish. There's no question. And to your point, the issue of staffing. Staffing is, and I've been very specific in this budget. You're asking for 9 positions, and as much as that's needed, and there's a cost associated with that. There's cost implications. Asking through my boss, Dr. Daly, administration, they've been wonderful, but my ask is not a cheap ask. It's an expensive ask, and that's passed on to the taxpayer. So it's incumbent upon us to be not only good stewards of the money, but be very specific and deliberate of the money. So it's going to emergency staffing, boots on the ground, because there is absolutely a necessity. We are at a critical point. Staffing is, emergency staffing specifically, is critical. And frankly, there's not even close to being enough. We're not close to the safe standards that we need to be. I have been blessed working with the county administration and the team. We're moving the needle in the right direction, but we got a long way to go. But don't think we don't understand there's a cost associated with that. But as questions come forward, we can be very honest in regards to every one of those dollars is going to the importance of serving the constituent base and serving the community and emergency needs.
So how is these 9 staff divided up?
So specifically in this budget year, 6 of the individuals will be staffed, providing it's approved, in the Shenandoah Shores community, which is all volunteer. There is no career staff there. And frankly, with the egress issues we deal with in the Shenandoah Shores community, it even further perpetuates the need. The volunteer staff out there, and a shout out to them, they are just the best. But frankly, they struggle to meet the staffing needs, so therefore we're working together to put staffing there. In addition to that, the remaining 3 bodies would go to what we call a roving capacity. So as vacancies show themselves in needs for various reasons, staffing, training, sickness, etc., we will backfill those positions. And when we're fully staffed, we will then begin to move to the metric of upstaffing the firehouse at Fire Station 1. And the rationale behind that is the larger percentage of our call volume is just there. 2/3 of our call volume come out of the Front Royal area specifically, and by far Station 1's the busiest.
Right, yeah. So what about the EMS side of things? How are we doing on that? I mean, we mentioned all these calls.
Right.
Yeah, so 82% of our call volume in fire and rescue is EMS. And in this community, what you'll find is when folks dial 911, it's no nonsense. It's not asking for a soda pop or way back to bed. They're sick. And the needs specifically, the acuity of the patient level is very high. So as such, we've increased disproportionately actually in growing our paramedic program so we can meet the need of the advanced life support needs of the community, coupled with the longer transport times to fixed facilities where they're needed to be. So if you have a heart attack, as an example, the optimal place to go will be Winchester or Inova. Warren, while they will stabilize, they'll then move them where they can be then catheterized. So the door to balloon time or those standards are set. Same thing with trauma. So we are beginning and have been successful at growing our paramedic program as a result. I hope to do the same thing again each calendar year. We're trying to put and grow that exponentially. So each firehouse in the 218 square miles will have a paramedic on all 3 shifts.
I know when you dial that 911, that 5 minutes seems like 5 hours.
Yes, it does.
I've used the EMS and they're great. They're great.
Thank you.
And I've used them several times for emergencies, and it seems like no time they're there. I can hear the siren. I live on real close, but
right.
Still, I'll tell you a real quick story. One of your EMS got reamed out by the hospital because you didn't start the IV. We live 30 seconds away from the hospital.
Right.
They said, I couldn't get it in before the truck got here. So he would say, but I was telling you, he said, why didn't you put an IV in?
I hear you.
But no, it's they do a lot of stuff on that truck.
Yes.
I say to you, thank you. And I mean this too, because the men and women, and in Crystal's shop too, but and they just do a yeoman's job. Yeah. I mean, I'm talking about hard work, and they do it.
They're professionals.
And they take a lot of pride in what they do.
I've seen them, and you see it in your department especially. You get a lot of abuse from the public. Not quite firemen, not so bad, but they still...
We're the good guys.
Well, but still, they want to get to their house because it's burning down, and they want to go in. And you fought them on this time when people want to get to their property. You got to evacuate. I ain't leaving, So, but I see it a lot in the sheriff's department, and it takes a lot of professionalism to sit there and take that this far away from somebody.
And let me also give, I want to give her a shout out for a second, but her side of the shop is, so they wear a lot of hats. It's not just a law enforcement. So they're running chainsaws, they're evacuating houses, they're assisting us in pushing hose lines indoors. They are fantastic. And when I say our brothers and sisters in blue really come to work, they do so earnestly and in stead. So and I don't know what we would do without them.
When you go to a call, the sheriff's right there with you. I mean, the sheriff's department typically shows up ahead of you, or they were there first. It's not just one thing. I mean, it's a team. It's a team effort, and it's amazing. I don't think people sometimes don't even realize, because they don't need the service until they need it. Until they do, and so it's great that we have that, and we have a lot of from our hospital all the way down to clinics and veterinarians and humane societies and all the organizations we have. It really makes our community something special.
There's a lot of moving parts, that's for sure.
A lot of moving parts.
But you said something just a minute ago about people not wanting to leave during evacuation or when the roads are closed. And we did have a few roads that were closed during the fire event last week. And it is scary for people, but there is an alert system to sign up for the Rave Alert to get alerts on updates and stuff. Plus, we try to be very mindful in the era of social media is to try to get as much information as we can and up-to-date information on these things about where the shelter is and what roads are closed. But we need a little understanding from the community as well is there was one road in and one road out of McCoy's Ford Road, and even though we only evacuated a small portion, we still couldn't allow travel in and out from the rest of that area. And that's hard because people are, wondering, they have groceries in the car or medication they have to take or animals and pets and all these things, but we've got to let our public safety partners do their job. There's hoses across the roadway, and just running over that is very dangerous for a firefighter that's holding the other end when you're doing that. And we have big equipment, so we have police cruisers and fire trucks and tankers trying to get water to the area. And so even walking in, those areas are closed to both vehicles and pedestrians. And it's hard to understand that a little bit. It's really scary, but to think about that and the amount of calls that we even got to dispatch in our communication center, some of them are just, I need to go home. When am I going to get home?
Sure, but you still got to take time to answer them. Yeah.
Yes, we do. And we have all of these other incidents and these calls that aren't being answered because we have all of our resources expended. So I do want to push people to our social media. The County of Warren social media, Warren County Fire and Rescue has a Facebook. The Warren County Sheriff's Office has a Facebook.
She's not going to mention the Royal Examiner. I'm
And
sure.
the Royal
Well,
Examiner.
Royal Examiner, I didn't have time to see if you had updates on the fire, so maybe you did, but I know that we try
Yeah, I know
to
you.
give people that accurate
Yeah.
information
And we share
out
those
there.
things all the time
And
from
I
both
appreciate
of them,
that
so-
because we have to get the word out
Yeah,
there.
yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you about, where are you going to get these people from when they're approved? Because they don't fall out of the sky. So how's the recruitment working, and where do you go, and how do you try to train up, and what do you do?
So we've been fortunate, and I say that to you, and I knock on wood, right? Our attrition numbers are down, and our recruitment numbers are good. We actually got a very comprehensive process where we do the intake process working with county administration, and we also have Gordon Foster, former sheriff, and he also works as a part-time fire marshal. But with his background, he vets the applications, and then we have the actual physical agility, and we've got actually a very strong process in place and some very good candidates. We've got that going on right now. Kind of a shout out right now, so please put your name in the hat, and with God's grace and the Board of Supervisors, hopefully we'll have approval to hire these folks.
I think the
in July.
board wants to do it. It's just making
Oh, I do.
the
Absolutely.
numbers work. Yeah. No one likes to have their taxes raised. I mean, but sometimes it's necessity. We have to,
And
work along.
We're kind of on the flip side, though. He is getting some, Chief's getting some applicants and getting people in there. We're kind of in an environment where, no one wants to be cops.
Yes.
And we do get a lot of hate, and it's kind of, thankless at times, but it's very rewarding also. But on the flip side, I feel that we have enough positions. The 4 positions that are being that are part of this budget cycle are positions that have already been approved and have been approved for years. They just weren't budgeted for last year.
Yeah.
So they opted to unfund those last year. I am just trying to budget the ones that we have so I can have a full roster. So I'm not asking for personnel. I do believe that Chief Bonzano has valid points and needs.
Just give me the people I'm
those
supposed to have,
resources.
right?
Exactly. So I need people to apply.
Sure, yeah.
I need certified and uncertified. But on that same, thought is it's budgeting salaries.
Well, I think something too the community has to realize, we do have a great community, and
We do.
people from the outside that visit here, a lot of them move here.
Thank you.
And we have like you.
Yes,
I mean,
sir. Yes, sir.
you come out here on a little trip, you say, boy, this is nice.
Beautiful.
Let me look around and see if they got any jobs out here.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, just driving from here to Manassas is a $12,000 a year expense that the government allows you to deduct. So it costs more. But let's just say $12,000. You got to make a lot more money just to break even, just to go to Manassas. And so at $12,000, but people never look at what they keep. They always look at what they get, and sometimes we need to maybe reverse that around a little bit.
I agree, and both we don't want to lose our best and brightest, and so it's a very, once you have a full functioning firefighter, law enforcement officer who's in not only good standing but carries the certification, that commodity is so valuable anywhere. So
And you get that when you get them trained, then they go somewhere else.
and that's what we're trying to achieve. Is this is a great place to
prevent
work,
that.
and the collegial atmosphere. And I say this honestly: working with the sheriff is fantastic. Working with the police chief is fantastic. But we try to make it a good place to be. We treat our people right, and conversely, and they're staying. And look, we all have to make a living. That's part of the gig. But at the end of the day, the quality of life, the importance of professional development, and keeping our best and brightest is important. And we want to continue that. Actions speak louder than words. So to your point about the taxpayer, I understand that. I really get that. I think that's why it's imperative that we're available to be specific and deliberate as to where we want our funds going and why. And then we have an honest conversation about it.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, truly going to the emergency services, to the citizens we serve. We're working back from that most important commodity.
Well, we appreciate all the things you do. I know
Thank
you don't ever get enough of it until someone needs it, but I think that I appreciate it, and I know our community does. So hopefully good luck on the budget, and I'm sure you're not the only one waiting for budget time, but it does happen.
Right.
And again, anything else you want to add before we
No,
leave?
just thank you. Just a big shout out to the community at large, to government administration, our brothers and sisters in blue. It's been wonderful to watch people come together, and and it was obvious there was a need. There's a need every day, and I don't know how we would do it without that.
Yeah, it's 24/7.
Absolutely.
It is
Yes, it
24/7. Again, appreciate it, Chief.
Thank you.
Chief. Sheriff. And we'll see
Thank you
you
for
hopefully
having
here soon again.
Yeah.
We're going to get together next week with some of your staff, and we're going to talk about things that they did during this event, during the fire, because it's good. I got some pictures, and I've seen all the pictures, and it's tough.
It is.
It's
It
tough.
is. And
It's tough. And
we've
we
got
wanna-
some great people that work for us.
And
We're
we want to
blessed.
get together with them and kind of get some firsthand experience from that, and some of your staff too. It's okay if you send somebody,
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh,
It's a
no,
pleasure.
thank you. I appreciate it, guys.
Thank you,
you.
sir.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Thanks,
you.
Sheriff. Appreciate it.
Yes.